So therefore, if you understand perfectly clearly that you can't do anything to find that very, very important thing, God, enlightenment, nirvana, whatever, then what?
Experience to stand there and to touch it and see others begin their journey down the river. So, it's been a transportation corridor, it's been a settlement area, it's been home to so many people through time, and it's been a place where they begin their own personal and spiritual journeys. So it's truly a remarkable location. I think it resonates, my belief is it resonates like Old Faithful does at Yellowstone. It's a place that people have heard about. I bet you could ask anyone across the country if they've heard of Lee's Ferry, and they have. Not everyone would know what it's about, but it has that much power in our collective memory. Again, we may not fully understand it all, but when you look into the history and culture, you still see the powerful role it plays.
Few words alone could describe Coyote Gulch. It is a place carved by time. You don't think much of it flying over in a plane. Just another crack in the desert. But what started out as a hike down the arid hurricane wash quickly transformed into the amazing yet daunting experience, filled with awe-inspiring formations and a first-hand look at time and water's incredible power.
Chris, I'm from the Bay Area, California.
I'm Jaime, I'm from Cypress, California. To begin with, we had to take the most extreme route and drive here, but right now we're in Glen Canyon, Utah.
That's amazing.
Just everything about the surrounding environment, the way everything looks is just amazing and quite unique. So
yeah, these sheer rock faces. It's pretty cool.
I've been to as anything like this.
Yeah.
Which is already in the lake. They'll attach to those, they attach to each other. And they're actually filter feeders, so they filter everything in the water. Like, so what we just collected, they'll be filtering that. That's a food source for fish. And then they're also filtering even the bad contaminants through, so they'll like have this high concentration of just like contamination in the mussel, and then some fish will eat it, and then it continues on to the birds will eat the fish. So these animals are getting, sick, and it's not a good thing. Just a chain reaction up the food chain. concentrating the samples so we can fit it into this size bottle. And so as you're tapping the edges, the water is coming out through the mesh. And then, yep, you want to try to get everything out. And they're kind of like super microscopic crustaceans. They kind of look like that. And there's like reddish colored ones. And like the common name for those red ones are cyclops. They just have like one eye.
That's cool. Look at this little guy.
And they kind of look like little lobsters.
They died. Right now we're walking in this modern wash, which is actually a good place to find fragments. You won't usually find things in situ, which means that they're in place where they died. You'll usually find them after they've been washed downstream. But you can still use the fossils just to describe them physically. It's still important that you know the fossil came from this level or higher. We know it wouldn't have come from something lower. If it's just a fragment, you can't always be positive that it hasn't been transported at some point or another, but if you find it, oh, she found something right now.
Dinosaur snout bit.
Oh, excellent.
Got where the teeth go in it. Well, unfortunately, it's just a little broken bit from in the wash, so I could go back and try and trace up the wash and see if there's any more of it coming out, but I can tell that it's a bit of the snout of a phytosaur, because you can see there's the little holes where the teeth went, and phytosaur would be the only thing with a narrow snout like this.
So something like this, even though that we can tell that it's a phytosaur, we wouldn't actually take it with us because it's not diagnostic of the exact type of phytosaur that it is. The parts that we use to diagnose the type of the phytosaur right now are these knobs on the back of the head that Bill was talking about earlier called squamosals. So if we see an isolated squamosal, we'll pick it up. But something like this, you can't tell just by this piece exactly what it was. So even though it's cool to look at and really fun to find, it's not actually something that we'd keep. But we actually spend a lot of time in the laboratory just studying shapes. It's kind of like puzzle pieces that you start to look and say, hey, that looks different than a rock.
Hubble had suspected that he may not be welcomed here, so he built this large stone building with bars on the windows. Inside the store, he made high, wide counters so you couldn't reach across and grab him. The only thing that he mentioned is that a Navajo man one day walked into the trading post, picked up a bag of flour, put it on his shoulder, and walked out. Mr. Hubble thought that was strange, but he thought that if he let him get away, word would get out that this man got a bag of flour for free. So Hubble followed him out the door and then realized it was a dare because there were a group of Navajo people watching. They were anticipating him coming out, and Hubble realized that once he stepped out. So then he thought quickly that, well, I can't pull my gun because, that will really start something that might be a typical response they might expect, and they're ready, and there's more of them than him. So he said, but I can't let it go. So he went to the man who had the flour. He grabbed him by the ear, twisted it, and led him back into the trading post and made him put the flour back. And that's like a test of character to see how he would handle this.